right on track. There is a full civilian control over the political life, and all civilians are accountable in front of law. And when we come to the, let's say, Kurdish issue, which was a real issue when we came to power, a mother who was going to the prison was not able to talk in Kurdish with her own son. We changed all the laws, what we call democratization process. And today there is no restriction on any language, neither in culture, nor teaching this language in schools, nor propaganda in these languages. If even there is in one of the questions, there is an assumption that in first 7, 8 years or 10 years there was a progress in Turkish democracy, but allowing propaganda in different languages was changed and was given as a right in 2010. And 2011 we implemented in the election. And even in my last election campaign, I spoke poor, but I spoke in Kurdish in some rallies, and there was no questioning about it. About minority rights, Christian minority, all the rights of property were given back by law. And today, you can ask to any member of Christian minority or Jewish minority, the rights compared to the previous decades and our time has changed radically. Freedom of expression, yes, I said and I am repeating, is a red line for me and for our party. As a former academician and a columnist before, when I was in academic life, I do not expect any limitation, any restriction on freedom of expression. Everybody is free to express their views, his or her view. And if there is any restriction, we will take necessary steps to make necessary changes in law. But sometimes there is a misperception, as if there are many violations of this freedom in Turkey. If you, I am challenging, if you have any case on violation of freedom of expression, please write to me. I will personally follow. There will be no restriction on freedom of expression. There are several questions, of course, and sometimes reporting regarding journalists under arrest. We are following regularly about these cases. Many of them, now we have 17 journalists under arrest. None of them is because of any journalistic activity. And many of them are before our government, from 1990s, when there were some terrorist attacks by the HKPC and by PKK. But if you have any case, we will follow. Of course, no democracy is perfect. We will make our democracy more perfect. And for this, for next 4 years, we will be having several democratization packages. We have done a lot. We will continue to do even more. But at the top of our reforms will be constitutional reform, because the existing constitution, very restrictive, very detailed, narrow-minded, which is not fitting to the realities of the modern society, especially global society, was written by a group of lawyers under the influence of military coup d'etat in 1980. And at that time I was a student of university, and I voted no for this constitution, which was accepted unfortunately by 92%, but the voting was interesting. There was an envelope, very transparent envelope, and the no vote was dark brown, yes vote was white. So when you put dark brown no, everybody was seeing in the room that you are voting for no. It was in last century. Turkey will not go back. Turkish system will be much more freedom-oriented, much more based on individual rights and responsibilities, more rights, not just responsibility, and with a new constitution, making reference to the rights of human beings rather than rights of state. A new constitution making a clear reference to separation of power, check and balances. This is the spirit of the constitution. I am sure we will make much more progress in freedom of speech, as well as, if necessary, of course, we will make all the changes in our existing law for a much better atmosphere. But we should not forget, and I want to remind, in this critical time of history, in all countries, almost all, after 9/11, there were more security-oriented policies compared to 90s, when there was more democracy-oriented reforms, especially in Western and Central Europe, and there was a wave of democratization in 1990s. There was more security-oriented policies after 9/11. Only in Turkey, there was a process, in-depth and detailed democratization, and even right now, there are 7 states around us which are fragile, not administrable, and crisis, and some parts of these countries are not under the authority of the central government. In such an environment of chaos, Turkey will continue to be a democratic, pluralistic society based on rule of law, freedom of expression, and individual rights and liberties. And whatever is needed for that, starting with constitution, we are also sending to the parliament another package of transparency and control over the civil control over all the mechanisms, and also accountability, combating corruption. And with these new reforms, I am sure Turkish system will be much more freedom-oriented, and individual rights will be better protected.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. I have a question about Southeast Turkey. It is from Amnesty International. We hear worrying reports from Southeast Turkey. How can entire villages be blocked from services and water, even if some are armed insurgents? Will you, as a minimum, lift curfew times periodically?
May I ask who asked this question?
Amnesty International.
Okay, welcome. Yes, Amnesty. Please, I am inviting you to come to Turkey. Anytime you can come and see and visit all the towns in Turkey. Of course, we are ready to receive any criticism. And we are not just asking for understanding the existing situation around Turkey. But at the same time, we have to know that there is a threat of terrorism everywhere in the world. In Paris, in Istanbul, in London, or in other places. In such a security environment, if you go to any city in Turkey, you can travel everywhere. There is an impression as if all southeastern Anatolia is under curfew. There is an impression and a propaganda as if many towns, the life is not normal, and there is a strict rules and regulations restricting the freedom of movement. I am sure you followed the events after the Paris attack, and we all condemned. We have expressed solidarity with French people there. After Paris attack, French government, President Hollande, invited army to come to Paris in order to protect civilians, in order to protect civil rights. Because if there is no public order, you cannot mention civil rights. You will have right of demonstration if there is a public order.